What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to The Fringe. If you watched our coverage yesterday on the channel in regards to Danielle Smith sitting down with the meeting of premiers, the meeting of the minds, so to speak, well, those minds were mostly covered in bullshit. As we watched a 10-minute stream where Doug Ford, Mark Carney, and Scott Moe spoke about how happy they were to have everybody sitting down, what Mark Carney thought word salad would matter for people. There has been a grand bargain, as Danielle Smith has called it, that's been reached when it comes to, or supposedly reached. Again, actions are going to speak louder than words, and those actions we all know are going to amount to nothing but delays, stalls, and people's expectations being basically granted where they have them. People know that Mark Carney isn't going to do anything to help Alberta. He's not going to do anything to help this country. In fact, most believe that his job right now is to dismantle this country. And I have to say he's doing a very good job of it. And whether or not you tuned into that live stream, one thing that was also discussed on another video yesterday is how Saskatchewan is jumping on board when it comes to independence, how the people of Saskatchewan essentially have larger numbers at one point reported than Alberta, potentially, as we move forward. I want to show that because people in Saskatchewan are fed up. An alliance is being formed now between the provinces to look at the future of this country, future of our possible new country as we seek independence. You can see here Tamara Leach posting photos from outside the Rebel News town hall in Saskatchewan last night. Again, you can see the room was very full, considering that this is nothing more than people that are like-minded, that are talking about how they feel about everything that's going on, people that support like-minded decisions to essentially hear what folks like Corey Morgan have to say about sovereignty, have to talk about independence. Again, I'll be chatting with Corey Morgan next week when I live stream Alberta Prosperity Project's town hall in Red Deer next Monday. I hope you tune in for that live stream. Hopefully some questions are answered. There's definitely going to be some good conversations. And at some point, I'll have Corey Morgan and the members of Alberta Prosperity on the channel for interviews. We're going to try and maybe do 2 interviews. I want to try and schedule one interview where it's just the Fringe and them talking, and then another interview maybe on a live stream where viewers can come in and ask any concerns that they're going to have in regards to questions or what happens if, or I'm a little on the fence about that, or I need some clarification on this. I think those would be great. But what you can see here is Canadians are fed up. They're done. Chris Barber and Tamara Leach were at this event as well. Sheila Gunn Reid, Ezra Levant, many others. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Corey Morgan. But first, I'm going to touch down on what Danielle Smith had to say. This article's come out in the Calgary Sun, and I don't want to touch on this because there's 2 shows going on here that I want to try and reiterate to people, because a lot of people are looking at politics right now, and they're saying, look, Scott Moe doesn't want independence in Saskatchewan. Danielle Smith is promoting that she's working with Mark Carney. There's a lot of mixed signals going around, and I'm kind of here to try and kind of put those flames down a little bit. Calgary Sun article reads, Grand Bargain, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith's encouraged by federal government's change of tone when it comes to energy. Now, what you have to realize, and if you watch that live stream, there's a lot that I discuss in that live stream as I show Danielle's Q&A session from over the weekend. One of the things discussed is that when you look at the province, when you look at if Danielle were to come out, not only is it against her mandate to promote independence or to say that she stands for independence against the federal government, but if she were to do that, I just want everybody to think about that for a second. There's roughly 51% of the province right now in Alberta that have questions, that aren't sure about independence. There are those who are, quite frankly, against independence. If Danielle were to come and do that, not only would it be political suicide for her, but it would flip the independence vote on its head. We would lose steam. There would be massive infighting in the province. She's doing the right thing. So essentially what Danielle's going to continue to do is play the old shell game where it's watch where the ball goes. She's going to try and make it look as though she's, at least this is what I feel, that she's going to attempt to work with Mark Carney, that the ball is being put in the federal government's court so that when they do nothing, because we all know they're not going to, then Danielle can say, if they get enough votes on a referendum ballot, I have a mandate from my people. Now we talk about sovereignty. Now we come to the table and negotiate Alberta's exit, because then the deed is done. It's being left up to the people to do this. That's what people have to understand. Anybody who's talking about Scott Moe, anybody who's talking about Danielle Smith, why aren't they more involved? Why aren't they saying it's time to go? This is up to the people to decide. And as you can see from the past photos in Saskatchewan, I believe it was in Regina, people are fed up. People have had enough. One of the bigger questions that get asked here, and one thing I want to follow and cover here from good old Corey Morgan. If you don't know about Corey Morgan, who works with the Western Standard, Corey Morgan also is the best-selling author of The Sovereignist Handbook. I would highly recommend picking up a copy of that on Amazon. It's an amazing read, and it really details the outline of why Alberta should be its own sovereign nation, the benefits of Alberta being a sovereign nation, what Alberta actually does for the federal government. It basically outlines anything you would want to discuss in terms of Alberta sovereignty, and that can be applied to other provinces as well. So if you've ever wanted to know, again, go and check out Corey Morgan's book. I know at one point we were competitive with each other about our books because they kind of all launched at the same time. But nonetheless, I do have a copy. I've read it multiple times. It is a fantastic read. Please go pick up a copy. Corey Morgan's put out an article saying, why should Alberta stay? Change the system dramatically or accept the departure of Alberta and possibly the rest of Western Canada. So again, this is where we have to put the shell game behind us. What citizens have to focus on right now is getting the word out and the facts out about Alberta sovereignty. We have to talk about why independence is the best move for Alberta. We have to get people motivated, not our governments. The article starts off with, Westerners saw it coming, but Canada was shocked when support for provincial independence exploded after Eastern Canada chose to reward the Liberals with a larger government in the general election. At first, Federalists dismissed the provincial sovereignty movement as a fringe minority of loud cranks. They were confident it was a little more than a collection of vocal malcontents on social media and that there was a little of substance to the movement. When a poll from Angus Reid indicated support for independence in Alberta had swollen to 37%, Federalists woke up, turned up the vitriol. They then realized the movement was real and decided to fight it through, insulting independent supporters and telling them they had no right to leave. Airtime was given to curated Indigenous chiefs who falsely claimed an independence referendum would violate treaty rights. Again, we've covered all of those laws. We've covered the treaties on the channel before. Go check out those videos in my Alberta is Leaving series. While washed-up musicians such as Jan Arden released video tirades calling Albertans everything from hillbillies to pricks. Now, there is an ad here for Christine Anderson. I'm just going to stall for a second here and mention this channel will be also interviewing and talking with Christine Anderson in the near future. I will be at Christine Anderson's Edmonton show Wednesday, July 2nd. I've been told that I'll be raffling off some tickets to lucky viewers. Again, keep your eyes on this channel. Hit the subscribe button. I'll be letting you know an email address where you can send your intent to want to go and see the show. One lucky person will be drawn to go to one of Christine Anderson's shows. I'm going to see if I can get tickets to all three of her different shows so that we can kind of get people going across the province. But if you haven't got your tickets yet, go and grab it. West 15 will save you 15%. I'm actually looking forward to chatting with Christine Anderson because there's a lot of similar things going on in Germany when it comes to immigration, when it comes to crime. I'd like to ask her perspective on Alberta's sovereignty, given how she felt about Justin Trudeau. I digress. Let's continue with Corey Morgan. Smugly, the Canadian establishment types leaned back and maintained confidence they had slapped down those uppity Westerners and that the movement would surely fizzle out in short order. Meanwhile, groups were organizing throughout Alberta and holding rallies for independence. The halls were packed and the databases were filled with the names of people ready to sign a petition to invoke a referendum on Alberta independence. Again, I've been to these town halls in Alberta. The Alberta Prosperity Project movement has a lot of people in these town halls, a lot of people asking questions, getting information. The rebel town halls at donegettingscrewed.com. You should check their local listings to see if they're coming to your city or town or near where you're going to be. Highly informative. Ezra has put on a very, very well put together program to talk about why this is important, why it's necessary. But those are all packed. Standing room only. With the election now a month behind us, public sentiment for independence in Alberta has shifted toward the positive side. Ledger has found an eye-popping 47% of Albertans are supportive of independence, with only 3-point margin to cover for a winning referendum, with a clear momentum on its side. And keep in mind, there's also the silent majority on that one. The independence movement is stronger than it has ever been. To dismiss the populist prairie fire at this point would be foolhardy, to say the least. To say positive independence vote is impossible is to deny reality. And we've talked about that to great extent on the channel. Corey goes on to say, I'm going to offer a bit of free advice for federalists who don't want Alberta to vote to leave the Federation. Stop telling Albertans they can't leave. They can. In fact, I think it was either Corey Morgan or Keith Wilson or somebody, one of them, might have been Jeffrey Rath, so don't quote me specifically, that said, let them keep tweeting these things out. Let them keep telling us we can't leave. If anything, it's garnering more support for independence. But I'll repeat what he says. Stop telling Albertans they can't leave. They can. The Clarity Act has laid out the legal pathway to provincial independence, and Albertans are already on their way to a referendum. So we will get our vote. It's no longer about, can we get the vote even? Can we get the signatures required? This is where I say Danielle Smith is playing both sides of the field. She's already in the process of lowering the required amount of signatures to trigger a referendum vote. If Danielle really wanted to work with Mark Carney and was set against any kind of separation, I don't think she'd be lowering the threshold. She'd probably keep it where it was, hoping that, those numbers never get reached. When you tell a Westerner that they can't do something, you don't discourage them. You will only inspire them to work harder and get the job done. And as Quebec said, they said that there's no identity in oil and gas. This is Alberta's identity. They're hardworking people that are always told you can't do something. They get the job done and they show them by saying, watch us. Stop insulting Albertans. Debasing and belittling Albertans doesn't endear them to the Federation. This sort of tactic feeds the analogy of Alberta being part of an abusive relationship with a spouse who will only assault rather than listen. Nearly half of Albertans have decided they would be better served if the province left Canada. This isn't a short-term flash in the pan. Albertans didn't come to this decision lightly. This is something that's been discussed over decades. Be it that it was in low numbers over the last decades, it's gained steam over the last 10 years. It says here, it's the culmination of decades of regional abuse under a broken system. People will not go back to the concept of the Federation easily. I remember when taking marketing long ago, I was taught that the toughest person to win was the one who hardly had a negative experience with you. Albertans won't come back to the Federation without some coaxing. They have been burned too many times and for too long. They see a brighter future for themselves and their children in an independent Alberta right now. Federalists who want to prevent the dissolution of the Federation must woo Albertans back into the fold. Albertans increasingly are seeing why they would be better off leaving Confederation. They know why they should go, and nearly half of them are ready to make the leap. Keep in mind that while Mark Carney falls back on his promises, while he continues to delay, while he continues to treat Alberta without any respect, while he continues to treat Saskatchewan and other provinces without respect, hoping that his promises unfulfilled will just result in them saying, well, better luck next time. I don't think that's going to happen this time. It's only going to fuel the fire more for people to say, yeah, you know what? We've tried. Even I was on the fence. We're never going to get ahead. We don't have another choice. Life is a series of cost-benefit analysis when making decisions. The cost of remaining within the Federation has become much higher than the benefits it may offer. The ratio must change if the wave of independence to support Alberta is to recede. Albertans have tried for decades to achieve change within the system and have been stymied every attempt. They are now going to leave the system altogether. The ball is in the rest of Canada's court now. Change the system dramatically or accept the departure of Alberta and possibly the rest of Western Canada. Those opposing the independence of Alberta must answer this question, and effectively, why should Alberta stay? And this goes back to a very good piece that Jordan Peterson had put out before the election when he said the same question. Why should Alberta... The government doesn't have to worry about Alberta leaving. The government has to worry about Donald Trump making them a better offer. There's a lot of different options at Alberta's feet right now, and Saskatchewan's and other provinces that wish to talk about the possibility of a Western Republic. We've seen Danielle Smith talking about how she's working with other premiers despite their differences in political parties in order to come to the agreement that energy is necessary in this country. Now, let me ask you, the viewer, a question. If these premiers can find a way to work together and a way to see that, listen, our economy's collapsing, we're not getting ahead anywhere, our transfer payments are going out the window, we're not getting anything back that we're putting in, we have a elitist government that doesn't want to listen to us, or they tell us one thing and they never deliver, they stall, they delay, they scandalize. What's to stop them all, or at least some of them, from turning around and saying the same thing as the citizens of the province? We've tried, we've tried, we've tried. We threw you a bone, we offered to work with you, you didn't want to do it. We have to think about our future too. Saskatchewan's already doing that, forming an alliance with Alberta, and it looks like their numbers may be higher than ours due to the fact that there's more rural voters, farmers, people who harvest uranium for a living, potash. Many people who understand in agriculture how important it is to get their products to market. And if they think that Mark Carney and the federal government are going to give them a good deal, maybe they need to knock their head a few more times and realize that nothing's going to change. This system is broken. These are the things we've been asking for decades. We will never get it from the federal government. It's time to stop doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. That, by definition, is insanity. What we need to start thinking about is, how do we change our lives for the better? How do we improve moving forward so that Albertans, Saskatchewanites, I guess, I don't know, Saskatchewans, Manitobans, British Columbians can all come together, live a comfortable life, pay their bills, have savings, prosper, buy affordable houses, less red tape, more money to go around to fund the programs they care about, build more hospitals, build more schools, slow immigration, give jobs to those who live here ahead of jobs going out to people who live elsewhere. It all sounds like a utopia. But I hate to break it to you, ladies and gentlemen, all it is going to take at this point to get those things is to put a yes in a box. I'm curious to see where it goes. Let me know where you think it's going to go when we get to the time for a referendum vote. If it's your first time here, I hope this video's earned your subscription. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. Turn on your bell for all notifications so that you hopefully don't miss a beat anytime videos drop. I know YouTube's kind of dropping the ball lately on notifying people. Leave a thumbs up and a comment, all that YouTube jazz. It helps us out. Share this content out to like-minded individuals so we can bring them into the Fringe. Don't forget to join me live here on the channel each and every Friday night for Friday Night Fringe, my weekly live streaming show, where I'm joined by the beautiful Mrs. Fringe as we go over everything that happened this week in politics, everything we know that's coming up in the week ahead, as well as your Q&A outside of making these videos. I look forward to chatting with you guys each and every week, but I most importantly look forward to chatting with you this Friday night here on the channel at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, hearing what you have to say. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.